Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on January 16th, 2022 at approximately, 8:19 a.m. PST, which gives you an idea how well these are working. Even wearing glasses, I can't read properly, which means my eyes are fluctuating. Oh well, you get used to it. This is a live recording, so what that really boils down to is at the end of this, I'll double check the date, make sure I got that right, and then post it as is. Any hiccups, any quirks, that's the way you see it. That's the way it is. If you ever run into me in person, you'll find the same thing. Okay, the way I look at it, if I'm going to do a recording, I may just as well keep it as real as possible. Which brings us back to this issue of the list. Like I said, not this time, but like I said many times before. I returned to this lifetime at this time for one primary purpose, and that is to remind everybody in existence that working together we can make this a better world for most people. Now, there will always be exceptions. In all likelihood, nature was designed that way. And yes, I did say designed. But in order to change this world, we are going to have to work together, meaning everybody's got to start with their own world. That starts by looking in your heart, asking yourself two questions. What am I content with? And what am I not content with? Now, just to give an example, one of my big goals for this year, okay, is to drop below the 200-pound mark. Now, I am not content with the fact I haven't reached that goal, but the fact that I'm continuing to drop and finding ways to do so, okay, that part I am content, so I will continue doing that. Now, it's not a real big goal in some ways, but anybody that's been aiming at dropping weight, a couple of things to keep in mind. Most people look at it going, I've got to lose X amount of weight. Well, the reality of it is twofold. One, if you don't personally believe that you've got to lose the weight, like for instance, if you're being told you're overweight, you've got to drop your weight, no matter how bad the health risk is, if you don't believe you've got to lose that weight or you've got to get rid of it, it won't matter how many people tell you you're not going to do it very well. It's kind of like if you've got an addiction that it's really hurting you. People can tell you you're addicted. Okay, they came out with a show a while ago called Intervention. Right. Now, whether it was a real show or not doesn't matter. As in, was it a live feed where this was really going on, or whether it was staged? Doesn't matter. The show was pretty cut and dried. Somebody stepped in because they cared and enforced help on you. Well, the problem with that is if you're being forced into help, it doesn't really make much difference in my experience. Now, I've been working in the consulting field, personal, business, UFO, abduction related, technology, that sort of thing, publicly since I was 10, professionally since I was 23. Okay, and what I have discovered with over 80,000 clients under my belt is that no matter how hard somebody else desires you to heal, even if they force you into treatment, if you don't personally desire to go into that treatment, the treatment won't take as well as you'd like. Okay, and this is just something I've seen in the massive majority of cases. Once in a while, there's a change. Okay, but where it comes to weight, and I've mentioned before, if you're aiming at doing something, make sure you talk to somebody that's done it successfully. Now, I personally hit 246 pounds, which to me was just absolutely appalling. And I hit that point. I should have seen it earlier. I hit that point and went, no, this doesn't work anymore. I am not hitting 250. Now, because of that, I started looking into things. I looked into diet. I looked into exercise. I even tried some of these medications or some of these new products that have come out that say, oh, you can lose X amount of weight or this will help and you don't need medication anymore. In my experience, all of it was a waste of my time. Well, I shouldn't say a waste of my time. I did get bits and pieces. But The one medication in particular that I tried, it was an herbal concoction. I looked at the research. The research was sound in my eyes. Okay, it was on the right track. What I was not expecting was after 2 or 3 days of using it, I ended up having a heart attack. Now, for me, that was pretty much an indication, so the whole bottle went in the garbage. As a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, I actually had 2 bottles and I bought 2 at the same time because they were a great deal. And I was figuring I was going to require them. It didn't work out that way. I threw them both out. Now, you might call that a waste of money. I called it protecting my life. But many of these new medications and concoctions that are coming up claim that you can lose, 30, 40 pounds in a month, which is fantastic. I mean, if that works, that's great. But the problem I see with it is something happening that fast is going to leave an awful lot of excess skin. Okay. And no, I'm not going to show you what I look like. I mean, I'm overweight. I'm not overly impressed with that, but I will tell you, somebody that is overweight, in my opinion, much as I'm not personally, it's not something I personally like. There's many people that do. But when you look at somebody that's got excess weight, it's one appearance. When you've got somebody that's got excess sagging skin, that's another look altogether. Okay. Now, for me personally, I found a way that worked like a charm. And the modern medical that's coming out is going, there are people saying, "Oh, exercise and cutting down on how much you eat doesn't work." Well, I'll tell you, I ain't been good on the exercise side, but I've cut down on how much I eat. Net result, I've been consistently losing a pound and a half to 2 pounds a week for the last 4 months here. Now, it's a long, drawn out process. It does not happen overnight. But then it didn't happen overnight for you to get to that weight. Okay. But it's simple mathematics. If you put less into your food, into your stomach, than what you're burning, okay, frankly, you're going to drop the weight. And that's the other thing. If you're looking at getting rid of the weight, do not look at losing it. Losing weight, the the instinctive mental side of that is you lose something, you go looking to find it again. And sadly, from what I've seen and from what people have told me, when they lose weight, they go out and find it again, and weight usually comes back with company. Okay, so I'm in the process of dropping the weight that I desire. So I changed my thinking pattern from I'm trying to lose weight to either I'm looking at dropping it, I'm dropping the weight, or I'm discarding it. Either way, I'm not going back looking for it. Net result, my weight has come off. Okay, now there's no way I'm going to do what the medical society says. According to the medical charts in Canada, at 5'8", which is what I am, I should only be 145 to 150 pounds. Well, you figure it out for yourself. Yes, I could get rid of this, and I'm hoping that goes away. But right now, last I checked, which was last week, I was 215. Can you really picture me being 60 pounds lighter than what I am and still being healthy? Okay. The reality is, to me, that's just a really bad idea. But that's one of the things I'm really content with. The other issue is this. As I showed you the other day, and I know you can't read this, but I put a list together of the different things I was breaking down my office to get rid of the clutter. Okay, this list that I've got here of the stuff in the office. This is only about a quarter of the office, I think. No, probably as far as volume goes, I took this sheet, I filled it up, and I've done all but 2 things on it. This shelf here, I've cleared some of it off, forgot to check it off. But this metal shelf here, I've started working on and getting rid of the stuff that I don't desire to have. Now remember, when I'm talking about getting rid of it, I'm talking about putting it where it actually belongs, or getting it out of my house. Whether that means going to a secondhand store, going to the garbage, going to recycling, doesn't matter. It's leaving. Okay. Some of it I've had to put someplace else temporarily because it's going to go in other sections of the house. But I've cleared off that. My filing cabinet at the top, as you can see. Whoop, there you go. As you can see, the only thing sitting on the top of it now is an incense burner. Okay. And of course, I got this divider here and emptied. Every one of these books except the blue one. The blue one I didn't write. The rest of these I did. Okay, and that will continue to grow because that's how that sits now. That's been emptied. This divider has a bunch of shelves on the end of it. This divider right here has a bunch of shelves on the other side of it. They've all been cleared off. And no, I'm not taking the camera over there to show you. What I'm talking about is in order to get the energy in your world working properly, pick a goal, take that goal, and I recommend very strongly to pick 12 goals for the year. And somewhere around here, I put, oh, there it is. I was going to say somewhere around here, I put a list. I have on my list right now, as a matter of fact, come to think of it, oh, I haven't got it back yet. Right now, I've got 7 things on my list of goals for the year. I've got 5 books I desire to get into print. One of them, right now, is already in the printer. I'll be getting it back in the next week or so. And I'll be able to check it off. Okay, so I've got the 5 books. I'm aiming at clearing the office. I'm about probably a quarter of the way through it. Maybe I might be a third, but I wouldn't bet on it. And of course, dropping the weight, we'll see how that goes. But the other books are going to come out later in the year. I still have 5 other goals to pick. Okay, so I'll figure out what I'm doing with those. But each one of these goals absolutely make absolute certain. You take every one of those goals, you break them down into 15-minute to half-hour jobs where you can. Now, where it comes to writing, okay, but where it comes to writing, those books are already written. This is the newest one I brought out. Okay, and I'm working on The Return to Paradise, which is the final one in this trilogy. I'm aiming at the end of this year to get it finished. Well, that's wrong. There is a reason I worry about which order these books are stacked in. You see, the reality is, with these books, okay, the binders are set up to create a complete picture. Okay, so it does matter how they sit on the shelf. Break every goal that you've got down into 15-minute to half-hour tasks. That way you can check them off and see that you're getting things accomplished. Okay. That's not the list. I did it again. Yeah, I seem to be a little scattered, but that's okay. This is the chore list I've got. Things that I desire to get done. I put the date at the top of it. Yeah, I know you can't read that. I really shouldn't worry about that too much, but all I do is I work on a sheet of paper. Okay. Put down 3 goals, 15-minute to half-hour in length. Write them down, and then check them off as you get them done. When you get one finished, check it off, and write down another one. So you keep 3 on the go. Don't forget that you still have to eat, you're still gonna get some sleep. If you do this, what happens is you get to the end of the day, you've still got 3 things on your list. Go to bed. The moment you get up in the morning, you've already got your list set together. Now, the backbone of the home, or the backbone of society, is the family unit. That's the way it's always been. It's just people have tended to overlook it. Okay, people in today's world have gotten so caught up in the fear of loss, the fear of virtually everything. Okay, and thereby, with that fear comes greed. Okay, with all the mess that's been going on the last couple of years, apathy has become rampant, and that is a bigger problem than any illness ever has been. Okay, So society's taking a turn, and the way to turn this around, and this is what we've got to do, is work together to bring that problem to a close. Okay, but that happens by changing the home front. Now, the backbone of a home is, quite frankly, the kitchen, the dining room. Okay, that's where virtually everybody has to get to at some point, or at least it'd be an idea. I strongly encourage you pick one day of the week, or not one day of the week, one meal of the day, where you sit down with the people in your household. Okay, and I'm talking just one meal. I know everybody's got a lot of things on the go. But you pick one meal and everybody shuts off their phones, shuts off the TV, and sits and has a meal together, discussing where they're standing. This is where you reconnect. Okay, now that's the backbone of the house, and I can go into that later if you desire it. If somebody desires that, drop me a note drop me a note in the comments below. Okay, if you'd like to say something that you don't desire the entire world to say, drop me a note in one of the contact points below this video. Okay, and I will do my best to get back to you. Now that's the backbone of the family. Okay, the backbone of the home. But the backbone of the house is your finances, which is why I'm in the process of getting this all sorted out. Now, I've got my desk. You can't see it, but my desk is cleared off to the point I can work with it quite readily. Okay. The reason that the office, where you work on your finances, is absolutely critical is because I don't know about you, but I like having a roof over my head. I like having food in my stomach. I like having my utilities paid. So when you're looking at your finances, figure out what you require. And that reminds me, I got to do that today. So we're just going to take this neat little note here, and just make a note for my income sheet. What was it? Income manifestation. That's the word I'm looking for. Now, where it comes to income manifestation, figure out what it costs to run your household, to run your business. Sometimes they'll overlap. Okay. Once you figure out what it costs, that becomes X. In my case, I can comfortably run my house on $2,500 a month. Okay, so bearing that in mind, that $2,500 will be changed to X. You literally take a sheet of paper and you write down on it, I have legally acquired a minimum of X dollars by January 31st, 2022 at 1 minute to midnight. Now, for me, that's $2,500. For you, it may be something else. The neat part about it is you bring it up. Okay, if you make it the 1 month, increase it by 1 unit. What I mean by 1 unit, if you get paid by the hour, increase that goal by 1 hour's work. If you get paid, piecework, okay, such as the sale of books, okay, you add 1 average sale of the books. Now, the books that I tend to sell, that I personally sell and that I personally write, range anywhere from 20 to 60 bucks, including shipping. Okay, and that's including shipping to Canada and the US. The rest of the world, that's another issue. Okay, because unfortunately, the cost of shipping is insane. But with that in mind, you put that on. That's the first thing you do. Actually, in all fairness, that's the second one. But that will help draw the money out of the etheric plane into the material world where it can be made manifest. The other sign that you want up is one that says, I am worth it. And I gotta find a place for mine because I cleared off that shelf and, well, the sign didn't go back on it. So I'm not quite certain where I'm going to put that. But hey, what the heck? I don't like that. Got to pop up on my screen here and I'm not impressed. But then, like I said, this is a live recording. Now, if you like the video, absolutely give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, because the goal that I've got, this goal of spreading this word to everybody is going to require assistance. And yes, I am absolutely asking for your specific assistance to get to reach that point. Okay, this is not going to be a short job. It's not going to be an easy turnaround. But the fact is, in my opinion, society has turned itself from focusing on the family to focusing on the individual and immediate gratification. Now, immediate gratification doesn't work well. I mean, it's got the illusion of working well. All of a sudden, you get all this stuff. Okay, but in my experience, that stuff has resulted in a staggering amount of clutter. And you'll find yourself, you clear the energy you start in the office. Okay. And the reason you start in the office is to get the money working properly. Okay, we're talking about something called feng shui. Now, the Eastern philosophies, where most of the writing is done from, it works beautifully the way they wrote it. Because they talk about, the north door or the southwest corner to put something in. I haven't studied a lot of what they read, but I did get the principle of it. Now, it works great in Eastern society because Eastern society is built on that philosophy. In Western society, it's more of a personalized thing, but the principle is still the same. Pick one area where your finances sit. That area is where you put all your financial stuff. Okay, usually that means the office. Pick one area where your family is. Now, something about the office, about the finance. If you have a mirror or a reflective eye or a reflective surface facing your main entrance door, okay, do not leave it there. If you have to leave it there, okay, because what a reflective surface does is it reflects the prosperous energy back out the door, slowing down the finance. Okay, the one way to counteract that, if you can't move that reflective surface, then take in the corners of it, put either a representation of plants or real plants. Okay, either one carries the same idea, preferably ivy. Ivy is beautiful for drawing prosperity to you. Okay, so by doing that, you can actually draw that energy in, and it stops the reflective quality of the surface. Now they've got these plasticized decals that work beautifully for putting on the edges of mirrors, putting on the edges of windows, where they won't obstruct a person's view of what's inside, but they do keep the energy flowing in. Okay, these are just some of the tools. Now, again, when I talk about, like, people have asked, how do you get grounded to start with? Well, you'll notice I have my hands quite often like this. Part of that is because, well, they gotta go somewhere and they're attached to my arms. But if you take your hands, you put them just about that far apart, you'll feel something between them. Now, I've heard it described in a lot of ways. One of the most common ones is people will tell you that you're feeling body heat. And that's okay. It doesn't matter what you call it. You take your hands, you put them that close apart, and this is why, when you're looking at people, especially in many philosophies, many religious philosophies, where they put their hands together, it's the same idea. The reason for keeping them half an inch to an inch apart is because you can feel the energy and you can work with it a little more readily instead of noticing the touch. You put the energy there, you put your hands like that, and you focus on that energy. And one word: heal. You yourself don't require the knowledge of what specifically is off with your body. Okay, but if you're striving to bring your energy levels up, if you're striving to get more connected with the natural world, this will help you do it. Because as it gets stronger, you separate your hands a little each time. Okay. Now, in my case, I cannot put my arms apart far enough that I can't feel it anymore, because frankly, I can feel it across the room. Okay, and I don't know about you, but my arms are not 10 feet in diameter, 10 feet in width. Okay, heck, my biceps are barely 10 inches in width, but, I'm not exactly known for being strong. It was funny, my father was built like an absolute freight train. He had 18-inch forearms and a 52-inch chest. I think I've got like a 4-inch forearm. Well, probably a little bigger than that. I'd be amazed if mine is more than 10 inches. But my father was a sheet metal worker. I'm a spiritual guide and author. Okay, which is where a lot of these books come in. The information I talk about, I'm actually documenting a lot of it. And I'm going, as I get the office worked out, I'm going to start putting it more and more to paper. And as I get them done, they'll go to print. Like I said, I've got 5 books that I'm aiming at getting out before the end of this year. One of them will be out within the next week to 2 weeks, depending on the printer. But you get the energy in your office started first. Then you turn around and move to the rest of the house, one step at a time. Okay. Now, I talk about one step at a time. In all fairness, I usually have a minimum of 15 to 20 things on the go at the same time. I mean, if you think about it, when I'm writing, I've got 33 books now that I'm working on. Obviously, no shortage of writing to do, but I have hobbies as well. And I can't show you at this point because I moved them. But these little figures here, shouldn't have picked that one up, obviously. Where did it go? There it is. One nice thing about being able to do this in bare feet, I can pick things up with my feet. But this is one of the figures that I'm working with. And that was just annoying. So, I will have, and this is one of the ones, Lord knows when I'm going to get to this one. The other one is out of reach. One of my hobbies is painting little figures. Now, I'm going to show you something. I have to physically do this. Okay. Years ago, I used to paint these when Raul Parsa put out metal figures, and for those of you that are gamers, you'll recognize the name. These ones I forget who's putting them out, but these are plastic. In any event, I used to paint the metal ones, and then my hands started to develop, and you'll see my hands are stable. Well, this in my right hand used to do this. Okay, used to have a staggering shake to it, but through focus, through meditation, through comprehending energetic healing. Okay, many of you will refer to it as Reiki. I've never been trained as a Reiki healer, therefore I cannot call it Reiki. Okay, but energetic healing I can call it, that's what it boils down to. But I've slowed it down to the point where I now paint these little guys with toothpicks. Okay, toothpicks and really small brushes. I'm happy to say I thought it was out of brushes, but I just found a new set that I bought and forgot about. But this is where we start. Now, I've got a bunch of things still on the go. So, I'm going to leave you until tomorrow. I will be back then. If you liked the video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And please, absolutely share it with everybody you can. In the meantime, I will be back tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.